of the fog.
Right, you kind of got to make your own fun.
Yeah.
Which was a transition for me going into the morning show here.
Proud. Keep doing the amazing work, will you?
They're learning about how to hire people.
20 years of local matter, so join me every Thursday night and see what's going on in the fog.
I'm Wendell Clark with a word about winning. We all know it takes a team effort in any sport and with any challenge. You can be a part of the winning team that shuts out impaired driving. Whether you're out on the town or just hanging out with friends, drink responsibly. Always have a plan for a safe ride home for yourself, your family, and your friends. You'll be helping to shut out impaired driving.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Well, we grew up in a typical two-story house on Red Island, and most everything centered around the kitchen because that's where the stove was. It was always in our house. It was not like a magic moment. It was always there. Mom always had a mat set up in the kitchen. The kitchen was the center of activity. She'd have a mat set up, so she'd hook that for a while. Then she'd cook something, and then she'd start knitting. She'd go back to the mat. She would then go down, spread the fish, and make the hay. And so she was multitasking with everything. So it was always an ongoing mat set up in our house.
And she's going to need to fix that. So, you know, and draw your straight line and then do the rest of your floor. But that's not a problem at all.
That's the wall, that's the floor there, see, so.
Yep, perfect. Okay.
I had always wanted to do a collection of rugs around women, right? And the Beaumont Hamel experience was such a good one, and what you could see community developing, you could see women knowing each other differently. Though we knew each other in the choirs, it was really interesting to kind of to see the friendships that were evolving as we went through that project. So Marie was a good friend of a number of us.
Okay, well, I started this when I came down here to the gallery with my sister-in-law, who's a painter, and she wanted to go around and see all the galleries. So we came down here, and Laura was here, and we were talking about the mats, and she just mentioned that this was a project that may be ongoing. So I thought to myself, I really loved Marie, so I thought, now I'll try and do one. And this one is sort of women helping women.
And Marie died in July 2008, and you know, I can remember coming out of the night before her funeral. There was a kind of a celebration of her life at Presentation Convent, and I remember walking out and saying to Helen Murphy, who I was with at the time, and who became involved in that project, said, you know, I think the time is right now to do that women's project, and I think we need to do it in honor of Marie. Well, a good friend of ours, yours and mine, and many of us here, Marie Ryan, died this year. And I guess after she died, I was so aware of, and as we had the vigil the night before her funeral, became so aware of all the wonderful things that she did in her life, and mostly behind the scenes and very quietly, and that most people didn't know about. And I talked about this to Frances and a few others, and from that, I know Frances then told me that she had already been thinking about all the women who do, ordinary women who do extraordinary things, and I was thinking Marie Ryan is definitely one of these women. And I was trying to find something that would kind of express that, and it just happened that I became, through one of Barbara's friends actually, came in for a visit one day, one of the sisters, and I realized it was the 175th anniversary of when the Presentation Sisters came over to Newfoundland, and these were 4 women who came over from Ireland.
And a window up there. Yeah.
That's really, really tight, right? This heavy.
And that was how it started. So a group of us came together to talk about what it might look like, and then we kind of put the word out, and some of the women who were involved in the Beaumont Hamlet project were also friends of Marie, so they came in, and then, as I said, other women came involved as well who were also friends of Marie. And we just gathered and said, well, okay, what will be the theme of this? We knew that somehow we wanted it to honor Marie and her life. And then it was decided that it would be women's lives, women's stories. So we saw Marie as an ordinary woman who did extraordinary things.
We used to live on this little island, and we were all resettled. I'm sure you all heard the resettlement program. Everybody had to leave the islands. And that was a typical scene, the houses being towed.
Always in my head, the famous 5, kind of different ways it had come out over the years, but when this kind of idea came about, I said, geez, wouldn't it be nice if I just put my own famous 5 in there?
So, the very last day we were leaving, the boat was coming for us at 12 o'clock. Couldn't find Mom anywhere. And she was freaking me out because I couldn't find her, the boat was here. This is where I found her, down on the point, and this is where Dad used to tie up his boat.
I guess when you're younger, you kind of really don't know what these people do because you're oblivious to everybody else's state. But I always remember her being around, being very kind to all of us. And then she did a lot of talks with me and my 2 sisters about HIV and the prevention of HIV. So that kind of always stood out in my mind.
As her anguished sobs traveled across the quiet cove, I watched her raise her head and gaze out over the horizon. Once a stage for her dreams and fantasies, it was now foreboding and uncertain. Where would this new life take her? Would she still have her old friend, the sea, to tell her secrets to? Would she have a garden as rich and full as the one she grew with such pride on the island? What storms awaited her? Imparting a few more salty tears to her salty friend, she slowly rose, gathered her kin, burned her boat, and left the eye of the hurricane of resettlement.
I wouldn't put it right so it's right down.
No, we were thinking like, yeah.
Let that be the bottom.
So yeah, that be the bottom line.
Your bottom line. Yes, more, maybe.
Okay, so really what we would have is something like this.
Yes.
This would be our
We were hardly finished women's lives, women's stories. In fact, we weren't finished it, but we were coming close to the end of that, and women were saying, okay, what's our next project going to be, right? And actually Laura, who runs the Five Island Art Gallery, came up with this idea that, you know, the Festival of the Sea is happening, and the Festival of the Sea is a cultural, economic kind of exchange between Ireland and Newfoundland and Southern Shore and Southeast Ireland. And she came up with the idea, why don't we do something about our Irish connections?
What I'm going to do is just introduce the mats and their groupings, and then people are going to sing the songs that Marion has put together around them, and we'll just go like that. So it'll be a little bit of a practice. So I'd like to, I would introduce, of course, Marion, who did the arranging of the songs, and Barbara and Helen, who started off the singing, but we probably wouldn't do that introduction of singers at the beginning on the 16th, because there'd be all of you unless we introduced everybody.
which I suppose will be okay, but practice your curtsies. So, in the beginning, this first section of mats, of which we only have 2 here tonight, is really about roots and tradition. It's a group of mats about language, tradition, the going away, the mixing and the melding, and the coming home. And it starts with Coultas. Irish was spoken by many on the Avalon Peninsula as late as the early 1800s. And this mat speaks of the openness and warmth of the Irish people. And it's a description that visitors often use about people in Newfoundland.
Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the lounge. I just realized I should have probably practiced this before now. 5 minutes ago when I thought about it. So I just want to tell you a little bit about how the project came about. So we did a project last year about hooking and women who are inspiring to us. So I thought about for this year, I wanted to be part of, try to be part of the Festival of the Sea, where the Irish people come over here and we go over to Ireland. And so I kind of thought about how could we connect some rugs to our Irish heritage. So that's where I came up with the idea, and I threw it out to the group, and everybody seemed to like the idea. And so now what we're going to do is sing about the rugs that we've come up with. There's a bit of a narrative and a slideshow, so I want you to enjoy the presentation and take it away.
Any members loading?
I'm holding a beautiful looking book in my hands. It's called Hooking Our Heritage, Irish Connections Rug Hooking Group. It's filled with amazing rugs that tell the story about the linkages between Newfoundland and Ireland. And later this month, Hooking Our Heritage exhibit is off to New Ross, Ireland for an exhibit there. Sheila, tell me a story about something that's in this book that touches you.
Well, I can tell you about our rug. Yeah. I was involved with 2 of my friends, Eileen and Jerry, in the Mummers Rug. We wanted to be original, so I'm in a group of women, and we've been together for 35 years. So we all went up to the country and dressed up for the Mummers, took pictures, and from those pictures came the rug. So each one of those people in the rug is an actual person that I know, you know?
These are story rugs, and they represent something that is critically important to the individual or the individuals who are involved in the production of that rug. And so we came together thinking about what it is that we wanted to say about our Irish Newfoundland connections. So each person came together, came with a different perspective, a different thing that they wanted to talk about and present in the rugs.
What's going to happen, of course, is someone from Flanker Press is just going to come up and talk about the kind of Flanker Press side of it. And then I was going to come up and introduce, I guess, talk a little bit about the project and how it came about. And then I was going to bring it in for the group to start. And I guess I want to thank Flanker Press, especially for doing the book, and some of the people in the group, and I guess right here is all the rug hookers, just so you know, if you want to get your book signed, they're all around here.
Over the last number of years, there's been lots of work done in the certainly art community and in the craft community, looking at things like themes like, you know, from the floor to the wall, exhibits around, you know, the movement of the rug from a practical piece to an art piece.
This next one Eva May and the Pig. Eva May Parsons Barrett worked as the Jubilee Guild field worker. And in the 30s, you know, she was traveling all over Newfoundland during the Depression, teaching skills that women could make things to help their families, but could also probably bring in some work. And those who are teachers, you know, but she had to do her work wherever it was that was available. And in this case, it was out in the garden with the pig.
Talent, inspiration, colour, concentration, workmanship, dedication, you name it, the quality of the work that they display to us. This group really believes in what they do.
Pulling up a hold out with your other hand. Sorry. I find it easier to roll it a little bit.
The idea of being able to, you know, exhibit internationally, and to exhibit these particular rugs that we felt very strongly would have some connection with the people who were there. They were certainly connected with our souls because we were telling some of our story about our connection with Ireland. And indeed, they did connect. I mean, we imagined that was going to happen, and to watch people going around when we had the public reception, and other individuals had come in the daytimes to look at the rugs, and you could see sometimes on people's faces, you know, that they were really drawn to particular things. They knew the story, they understood what it was, and they saw the connection. They could see maybe images of themselves, maybe it resonated with a piece of their story.
All of the receptions that were put on for the Festival of the Sea, but they certainly made the rug hooking group a big part of it. You know, it was led by the City Hall, the town councils, and then particularly our own public reception that was offered for our rug hooking exhibit. And we were overwhelmed with the response. The warmth of our welcome is something that we will never forget. It was just the interest that the people paid to us, to our rugs, to what we were doing. And it was a genuine interest, you know, a lot of encouragement, and please come back, and maybe we can share in other projects in a different way. And we were just delighted to hear that.
What I want to do is work away at the sky.
Yeah.
But what do I do? I just put it down anywhere. Are you right? You're right-handed. Then you skip a couple, and then you just make a hoop. You pull it up and you make a hoop. I see. You don't do the simply anymore.
We don't do the knot at all.
No, you don't do it.
I think we've met a group of the most wonderful people that I have come across for an awful long time. People who are warm and, you know, really down to earth. The rug hooking is something that I hadn't any experience of, and after trying a stitch or two in Dungarvan on Saturday, and I have a profound admiration for their skills and things, and the work is absolutely wonderful.
See, the thicker your material is, probably the more that you can skip. We call it rug hooking.
You call it rug hooking.
Hooking rugs, right?
I did this.
Yeah.
For all that?
All that. I don't have to do it. But
We held a workshop in Carrick-on-Suir yesterday, and some of the kids who came down, you know, got such wonderful enjoyment and insight out of it that, you know, it's great. It's a skill that we have, if we ever had it, we've completely lost it. So it was great to see those things revived again.
If I get to work, I got my strips all cut, I've got my picture drawn out. Well, very first, before any of that, I had to get an idea. Because everything starts with an idea, doesn't it? And I have to start and say, why am I going to do this? What good is that kind of art? What am I making it for? Why is it important? There was
one little boy in particular, his name was Sean. Everybody was supposed to just hook 1 or 2 little loops, and the girls were saying, Sean, you got to give someone else a chance. And he said, no, he said, I have this whole thread and I'm going to finish the thread. And he just loved it. And another little girl said, is there any way I can get a little piece of this and start my own mat? It was really like wildfire with him. They were really excited.
Just go next to it.
Perfect.
One more, and then I'll just... And you feel the hook there?
Yeah.
Sort of hook the material over that.
As part of the exhibit, one of the things that we did was we sang to a group of, I think they were whatever age they are when they're just making their first communion. So all the kids came in and they were so enthused with the rug hooking, and they all gathered around the frame that Maxine had, and they all wanted to hook the mat. And then we sang to them, and we actually taught them the verse. One of the Marian Council wrote a verse that around hooking our heritage. So we taught them that, and they all sang it. And
We are hooking our heritage, capturing dreams, hooking Irish and Newfoundland scenes, making connections from Ireland shore to Newfoundland and Labrador.
The music, Alan Ricketts and the Ennis sisters and those, they have echoes of Irish music, and yet they have, it's very definitely their own, and the stamp of Newfoundland is on it.
Newfoundland, I know that you'll always be.
The whole trip to Ireland was a fabulous experience, because we not only did we have the honor of hanging the mats and having the exhibit there with the Ross tapestries, which is incredible. The whole trip of staying with people and being billeted with people enabled you to feel much more connected, and people were so accommodating and so nice, and it was a great bit of fun.
Picked up on that one, haven't you? When I came to Parts Content 10 years ago,
And I like the people here, I like the community, I like the feeling you have here. It's a very, very nice warm feeling among the group and among the residents that are here. Just pull them up through the other way and cut them off.
And maybe we'll do it because it got the shade in it too, look. So we'll use this instead of this. Okay.
I couldn't wait to, like I enjoyed doing it. Every time I sat down, I took up my mat and hooked, and I really enjoyed it, and now I can't wait to continue. My second one I hope will be better than my first.
So we got his shirt, his jacket, his hat, the things on the boat. Yeah, now we got to get the... Okay, so
my daughter had done a rug a few years ago. It was the first one that she had done, and she presented it to me as a gift. And it was all about my children as they grew up, or the story behind it was my mother-in-law rather. And so there I got the idea, well, maybe I'll do that someday. So then she became involved rug hooking in St. John's, and she brought it back and forth, and then I said, well, why can't we do that? Maybe I should get some people together and do it. And we had received some applications from government, wondering what we were going to do if we applied for some money. And it came about with my 4 co-workers and I, and we pulled it together. We applied for the financing, and my daughter got involved then very much so, because she helped us too with the application and everything, and numerous work she's done for us. But lo and behold, we came up with a group. And as you see today, I think we have 29 members now, and they're still building. Everybody's enjoying it, and they're doing a great job.
This one here is a picture of the area where I was born and raised. This here is the house. This is our shed, and this is the best that I can remember where my grandparents lived. And we live in an area called the Back Way. And I remember coming across the back way to the well in my grandfather's garden, carrying water. Well, I'm not finished this yet.
No, you're not finished, that we know.
And I have to take out my green on the front, so this will change. But, you know.
But it's fairly tidy. You have to tie all your ends in, which is good.
Pretty much, yeah.
And this, but you know, when you do one, the second one is going to be much neater and everything else. You learn as you go.
I've learned even 2 or 3 things since yesterday. The well's got a special meaning for my older sister. She was carrying water one day and she happened to lean too far forward and she fell in.
And how are you going to hook this? And how is it going to look like a cloud? But after I had a little spell of it, it blended in very, very nicely.
Yeah. So, but she caught on the rocks and a man was going by and got her back up again. So we were kind of scared after that, but we did it. We had no choice.
All right, so you'd want just all this?
Just all that.
And with the person putting money in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take this away.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So you can, just take the pole out. You can leave the rest.
Yeah, okay. And then with the Ireland one, there was always the excitement of showing over in Ireland, possibly going there, right? And then, the stories around the connections and that sort of thing. And that changed it again, right? And then getting to know some of the women that have come through it each time even more has changed it as well. There's a real camaraderie with each group that's growing and growing. Right, so and that's just really interesting. Now the Heart's Content one it's different again. There's a whole other set of women, and they are pretty gung ho. They really have got me going, right? So, a little bit over the shed. This actually steam from something. Okay. So I'm just not making it real clear.
Make it steam.
Put a puff of smoke coming out.
Yeah.
Okay. So first we had the engine. I was going the other direction. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I traced it out in the back. Well, once again, it's different for each person. It depends on their level of experience.